this gets into AI too. It seems as if humans, the idea that what humanity really seems to be, like what a person seems to be, is at its most fundamental level, like when you take away everything about a person that's not the person, what are you left with?
The brain.
The brain, but take away parts of the brain, what do you don't have a visual cortex, you're still a person.
Yes.
Take away different parts of that, it's consciousness.
Yeah. And we don't know exactly what in the brain creates consciousness.
We don't know shit about consciousness. There's so little we know.
Yeah, I know, which is amazing.
And I always wonder
if it's unknowable.
Well, not even that. If consciousness is what makes humans humans, then if AI develops consciousness, and it's able to, because it can't evolve on its own, it's able to improve upon other robots.
Yeah.
If it has consciousness, I don't see how it would be distinguishable from humans in terms of what makes you an individual.
I agree.
And if that's the case, then
we can marry robots, and I don't have to worry about women anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. It can be like the movie.
They'll still have to be all trans for you, but
they still have to have penises.
Yeah, that's all the only ones who are gonna want you.
Yeah. I'm gonna get left swiped by all the robots.
You only get fat and trans robots swiping on you.
I have a joke that's actually a true story about how most of the women who like me on dating apps are transgender women. And I got nothing against transgender women, but I am only interested in dating cisgender women.
Yeah.
It just happens to be my sexual preference. Shoot me.
And
I
white.
know, I'm a fascist.
And white women.
White robots. Yeah.
But my point is, I'd see if AI becomes essentially human in that way. At what point is AI going to be able to maintain its functioning while removing more parts of non-essential parts of consciousness?
Well, it just gets to the question of, again, how the fuck do you create consciousness?
Yeah.
I definitely, I think consciousness is certainly clearly not uniquely human.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've shown it in other really advanced animals.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, then what? Like...
But even that's intelligence. That's not even consciousness necessarily.
Well,
it's self-referential ability.
I don't know.
That might count as consciousness.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you can indisputably prove that something has consciousness without it telling you I have consciousness.
Well, to be fair, it's disputed. It's disputable that any other human being but yourself has consciousness.
Right.
Because of that Descartes thing or whatever.
Right. But chimps... Dolphin, they certainly seem to display, they'll look at themselves in the mirror and they'll remember people who died.
They have a self-referential capability.
But the question is, what creates that? It's neurons, basically. Yeah. And how much...
Well, we don't know if it's neurons. We don't know where the consciousness originates. We don't know if it begins in the body or if it comes from outside the body and is harnessed by the brain.
I know that there are some, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think there are some neurologists who would dispute that. There's some people who think that, okay, we know it's in the brain. We even have a pretty good idea of the region of the brain where it likely stems from, but we don't know how the fuck that region of the brain does that.
Maybe. I don't know if that's the case. In 2016, when I took a class on this, at least, it was not yet determined. And it was called the big gap or something like that, or like the major gap.
Right.
Which is just this idea of like, we figure we have consciousness and we don't know. And we figure that it starts in the brain.
Well, the reason
why... Or that it is used by the brain, but we don't know if it originates somewhere in the brain or if the brain has like a kind of radio antenna that harnesses it from outside the brain.
Right. Well, by that logic, though, you would... I mean, the reason why we think it's in the brain, of course, is because if you remove somebody's brain...
then they cease to have it.
Right. You can chop their arms off, their legs off.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the brain, because you can also fuck up somebody's brain by destroying their spinal cord or things that are connected to the brain.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's all...
It's your central nervous system.
Central nervous system, I think you could accurately say, is where consciousness arises.
Yeah, and it would take a lot of probably unethical experiments of removing parts of that until you find out where...
Turns out you can ground somebody's brain into a fine paste, but as long as you preserve this section of their spine, they're still there, and they can still speak Spanish.
And the brain paste goes great with Manchego.
And they're voting for RFK Jr.
But my theory is eventually we will remove so much of the body that all we are left with is consciousness. At some point, it's possible at least that the evolution of humans to AI to whatever comes after that eventually leads to, and this has been theorized by like sci-fi stuff all throughout time.
Yeah,
is like, you know, robots become brains in a vat, which become non-bodily consciousness.
Right.
Which in a lot of sci-fi at least pervades to it becomes everything. Once you become non-bodily, your consciousness expands to become a universe.
Here's the question: is there something unique about neurons? Like, is something that can you ever make something that fully resembles a neuron? Just like whatever we're doing to make AI with circuitry and coding, and it's still not a neuron. It's something else. So how could that something else have the exact same experience that we're having if it's not made of the same thing that we are?
If it serves the same function. Our bodies are biological robots. We just happen to be made of natural tissue.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know if there'd be any way to do it other than making it. Like, I think you could probably grow a brain at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can make
an electronic brain.
An electronic brain that is just like ours. Maybe it can clearly compute some things and do call and response.
Yeah.
But can it have things like self-identification and emotion and creativity?
Well, if it's interconnected, I mean, theorizing the fact that the idea that all of those self-referential capabilities and intelligence come from electrical signaling between neurons in the brain. Theoretically, if we can map the human brain, instead of using living tissue, we create it with artificial tissue, and we have those same electrical impulses sent in the same ways, or at least all the connections are there for them to do so. Theoretically, it should yield the same results as a human brain.
You want to try this, like, after the podcast?
Yeah, you got a test subject?
Well, I mean, we just need the circuits and shit, right?
Yeah.
We need the materials.
Yeah, where do we get the materials?
I'm not going to kill anybody.
Oh.
I don't know, you got a lot of metal and you got a lot of machines in your house.
We got to kill somebody.
Okay, yeah. Just to get it out of the system.
Yeah, after that we could look for metal.
No, man. Yeah, it is, because the scary thing is this: if we can create consciousness, right, with robot, there's no question that, because robots are going to be better than us in every single way.
Yeah.
In every conceivable way, they're going to be superior than us.
Yeah.
The only thing we could even possibly have over them is the fact that we have this animal thing.
Yeah. They would probably be interested in us as an early development of consciousness and intelligence in nature.
There's a great
like how we think of apes and monkeys and stuff.
I'm reading Dune, right, the actual book.
Yeah.
Because I haven't wanted to see the new movies until I finish the book. I've heard the movies aren't that great anyways.
I wasn't thrilled. I have friends who were obsessed with them.
Yeah.
I fell asleep during both.
Well, my dad's a big Dune head. I mean, he read it, and he's read all the prequels, but there's one. He's a big fan of the prequels.
Yeah.
He says that the prequels are like where it's at. Aside from the first book, Dune 1, which is the classic, he's like, you should read Dune 1 and then read the prequels.
Oh, wow.
Because they're the best books.
Yeah.
And there's a character he told me about named Erasmus, I think is the name of this character. It's a robot in the Dune prequels who operates on humans. It's like a Leonardo da Vinci of robots, basically. Yeah. Which I just thought was a really cool idea for a character. I was like, that makes me want to read that prequel. It's this robot who's like just absolutely fascinated by human beings and what makes them tick.
Interesting.
And so I don't know if I think after they already die, I don't know if he kills them. I think they're like already dead, and he just has like these human bodies strewn around his lab, and he's tinkering with their brain, trying to figure out the differences.
You know, interestingly, there have been Amazon is using robots right now to pick out items in warehouses and fulfill orders. for shipments and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's found that they are very ineffective at choosing replacements for orders that aren't there. Like, if, say, somebody orders a TV, they don't have the LG, you're going to get a Samsung instead, because that's the same stats and everything, whatever.
Right.
A robot wouldn't pick out as good of a choice as a human would.
I'm going to suck your dick again.
Nice.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I don't know what it is with this
God.
chair. It didn't bother me at all the last time.
Yeah, well, we were sitting on it for a while earlier while we were listening to funk.
Yeah, we've been sitting down for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well...
Make sure your head's not blocked by that microphone. I could also move the microphone.
I don't want them to see me sucking your dick, dude. His dick's on his knee.
My donk.
Yeah, well, it is can't keep up with humans in that capacity yet.
Yeah.
But we're still in the baby stages.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm going to check the phone while we're at it, too.
You wonder, though, because that is the narrative being peddled by, Elon Musk and OpenAI type of people, is that, like, oh, we're just at the beginning. But it's kind of the same thing people say about the brain. Like, we're just at the beginning of understanding the human brain. It's like, how do we know, as people who are pretty relatively uneducated in the matter, how do we know that there's this, like, that there's so much more to understand? Like, what if we hit a point where it really is just like, this is the limitation of our understanding? Maybe you can't make machines infinitely complex and capable. Maybe we'll just hit a brick wall.
It's possible.
That would be great in a way, I think. Well, I mean, that could save our lives. Because if it really is this thing, like they're predicting, where it's like, oh, it's completely inevitable that AI will be smarter than humans, will be smarter than humans soon, more capable than humans soon, you'll have robots that are like androids, that will probably result in our demise.
I don't know, because it's also like, with those capabilities comes the ability to supercharge humans.
Yes.
And this is another thing I heard Michio Kaku talking
but
about.
We could potentially supercharge. We could go down the same path of having our brains in vats without creating an artificial consciousness that kills us all.
Yeah, but I'm thinking in terms of, like, the idea is that robots would be highly intelligent and highly physically capable. We could do that to ourselves with enough technology. Neuralink could essentially boost our mental capabilities.
Yes.
So that we become superhuman in intelligence.
Right.
It can boost our physical abilities by curing aging.
But superhuman is still human. We would still maintain those parts of ourselves.
But at that point, AI is human. The idea would be we can turn a human being into a robot.
I don't know.
If you replace,
I think you could.
It's like when you talk about there's that old thought problem of you got an old boat, and you start replacing the wood, and you start replacing the nails and the paint, and at what point is it a new boat? If all of it is replaced, is it the same boat or is it a new boat?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you start replacing it with enough shit, it's for sure a different boat.
Yeah.
And that's when you say, well, you can turn a human into a robot. You could turn a human into a robot, but then it wouldn't be a human anymore. It would be a robot.
True, but at that point, it's like, at what point are you splitting hairs? If both of them are conscious, if both of them are intelligent?
Well, that's what I'm saying. At some point, you might lose an element of consciousness or an element of whatever else makes human beings human.
Or what if you don't? What if we stop having a dichotomy between humans and robots? What if at some point it's just, these are both conscious entities?
It is possible.
Some people are completely natural, some people are completely artificial, some people are halfway between. They're cyborgs.
That, to me, is the path that, kind of like with nukes, I think it's more likely than not, over time, it will result in our complete destruction.
Of humans.
Yes.
Just because it could be
old version of humans.
Because it could be that we all become robots.
You could also say it like this: not our destruction, our evolution. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it could be that we, as we currently are, kind of like we're the new Neanderthals.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's interesting because it's like, on an ethics level, I don't think it is wrong to evolve into robots.
No.
However, I do think that there is something unique and worthwhile about preserving humanity.
Isn't it funny if cavemen were scared? Like, if cavemen fucking hated us.
Yeah.
They were just like, these fucking sissies. Like, they don't have hair on their foreheads ananymore.
Yeah, they're weak.
Like, they suck.
Yeah, they're tinkering with
How
things.
do we let ourselves turn into this?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't just rape to have sex anymore. They have consensual sex.
Yeah, unless they're in
What are you
India.
talking about? Indians are just no. I'm not Indians are a different race.
This brings up
They're different species.
Let's one step back from the Indian thing. This
Yeah.
brings up two interesting points. One, I had this idea recently. If we are to give birth to AI, and that's the next evolution of humanity,
We will give birth vaginally.
yeah, but
When we do.
what if a lesser life form than us gave birth to humans?
Well, that's technically true.
It is technically true, but
Yeah.
what if monkeys
Guppies.
literally made us? Yeah, what if guppies made us?
Yeah.
What if let's not bring up the individual we were
No.
discussing for that bit, but yeah, like what if a fucking spider monkey, like, tinkered with some shit, and then all of a sudden was like, oh fuck, I spilled this juice on my wife, and now she's becoming a human.
Yeah, now she's bitching at me and asking for consent.
Yeah, now she's having a period. And
Yeah.
she's like criticizing me
God
about
damn.
having to go buy tampons.
Right. It could be an accident.
It could be.
It could be an accident. Or it could be some mad scientist already has it, or has a prototype, or we're further along than we already think we are,
Yeah. I'm just. It's interesting that it could be just some like a rat steps on some shit, or like a smart rat is like doing some shit, but it's
like
like
an X-Men shit.
yeah, it's like we're not that. I was hearing somebody talk about this and listening to all these podcasts. Somebody was like, we're not that smart as humans, but we're able to make these robots that are gonna theoretically be superhuman in intelligence.
Yeah.
What if some dumb fucking monkeys just made something that's super monkey in intelligence? And that's humans.
Monkeys aren't... First of all, can I eat this protein bar?
Yeah, sure.
Is it going to fuck with the mic or something?
I mean, if you're not talking with your
Crunching
mouth full
sounds.
and crunching right into it.
I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
It's the benefit of not having individual mics right up to our
Yeah.
face is that they don't hear as much.
We should have like Cirque du Soleil mics, like the fucking Zoom mics.
like we're giving a
Monkeys just weren't advanced enough to do that. Monkeys, they didn't have anything in their capacity that was one step away from making a human. Now there is
that's a good point.
The reason why monkeys eventually evolved into humans. I mean, there's all kinds of theories. There's theories that they took DMT. There's theories that they made fire and that fire accelerated. Well, that's more of a caveman thing. But yeah, we are now at a point where it literally could be a single discovery.
Yeah.
Potentially. Just one thing where it's like, oh shit, there's consciousness. What the fuck? My laptop's crying all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, that's literally the plot of Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.